The guy who lived 18 years with an alcoholic father finds out he's a mutant with superpowers and gets caught in a struggle between two dangerous groups. My name is MOREFOX. He needs to be eliminated immediately. Two men arrive at a small shop. An older man enters while the younger one stays outside. To the surprise of the shopkeeper, the man pays for a piece of gum. Initially calm about it, the shopkeeper later notices missing bottles of alcohol. Armed with a hammer, a woman blocks the car's path, preparing to deal with the young thief, but suddenly a gun is pointed at her, warning her not to come closer. Ignoring the warning, she moves forward, and the boy pulls the trigger. The woman screams, even though the boy doesn't have a gun in his hands. The older man snaps the boy out of it, calling him Gnome, puts him in the car, and drives away. A cop arrives and, despite her claims, finds no wounds on the woman. Nevertheless, he heads into pursuit. Meanwhile, in the truck, the father asks the boy to do something to avoid attracting attention. Suddenly, a pursuing police officer sees a completely different car. The father reminds them to never stand out or joke as a family, but the boy can't understand why they settle for less when they could do much more, like walking into a bank with a document the cashier would accept as a check. The father disagrees, fearing they'd be caught before spending the money and would send the boy to the lab. At this time, the police demand the car stop, and suddenly, huge hailstones start pelting their car, causing it to spin and eventually flip near a gas station. However, the attendant remains calm, seeing the intact car on the monitor. An unknown woman reviews footage of this strange robbery, praising her team for their good work as they finally found the boy. Meanwhile, N and his father are at home on their old ship. N dreams of a young, beautiful woman playing with a child and singing. Upon waking up, he hears birthday wishes from his father, but N doesn't want to listen. He announces to his father that he's going to the arcade, dismissing the gift given to him. Meanwhile, the police recount their misadventures to a waitress who just laughs at their fantasies, ignoring the man in dark glasses. At the same time, a group of armed people makes their way to the ship, and Adriana, entering the cabin, thanks Vincent for their attention-catching actions, or the agency wouldn't have found them. She demands N be handed over. When told the boy is at the arcade, a perceptionist also searches for N, knocking down agency employees. Eventually, in one of the halls, an operative notices the perceptionist opens fire without regard for bystanders. N sees the perceptionist behind the shooter and alters reality before his eyes. The man also sees N but is approached from behind, a soundproof helmet placed on him, and he's taken away. A girl, a perceptionist, takes the boy. Meanwhile, the victorious perceptionist removes his helmet, but N is already out of his reach. They place the same helmet on the boy and take him away in a van, unwittingly including Vincent. Seeing the departing vehicle, the perceptionist rushes onto the road, causing a massive accident with explosions and fire. But Adriana orders the driver to ignore the tragedy and drive on. He presses the gas, racing past the illusion, much to the dismay of the perceptionist. Finally, they bring the perceptionist boy to the agency, where Adriana blames the deterioration of people's lives on the power attained through the ability to create falsehoods that millions believe. They fight against an organization of people with superpowers who control power by manipulating minds, striving to uphold the scarce democracy left in the world. The person he saw is called the Perceptionist, the last one who can project images, just like N. He wants to recruit N into his team. Adriana, however, claims to be on the side of good, having N's blood formula to prove it. The woman wants to confirm his abilities and asks to create an illusion with a beach, a cocktail, and a chihuahua. For this, he should base it on some strong emotion, for example, anger at growing up without a mother, and shows a photo of that woman who had been in his dreams for many years. Suddenly, they find themselves on the beach, but instead of a chihuahua, there's a fly. N disconnects. They show his father to him and escort him to a room where Vincento is recovering. Adrian advises N to enter the man's memory and find out the truth. The boy enters his head and sees how many years ago the man stole a child from a laboratory. Later, Adrian reviews N's analysis results and realizes he's much stronger than she thought. but there's no trace of the formula in his blood. Apparently, he's the only naturally born receiver, even though they made them infertile. The boy might display a third ability. The project leader advises eliminating the dangerous mutant. Meanwhile, a professor arrives at the center. Esther appears in N's room, urging him to escape to avoid becoming a lab rat. She leads him, but security notices them at the elevators. A fight breaks out, and the girl quickly deals with the guards. N insists on taking Vincento with him as he holds memories of his past. Adrian reports the disappearance of test subjects, raising an alarm. At this time, the professor calmly walks through the center. As N manages to reach a car and drive away, he asks Vincento not to call him son, realizing the boy has infiltrated his mind. Suddenly, the professor pulls out a gun and eliminates a group of militants, revealing himself as a receiver. Simultaneously, he distracts the guards at the exit, and they shoot everywhere but at the car. However, one bullet hits the tire, causing N to lose control and veer off the road. The pursuing receiver understands that N is hiding the crash site, but just smiles. Later, N and Esther take Vincento to a roadside hostel for the night. There, Esther confesses she works for consciousness. In the morning, they relax in the hall and talk about life. The boy is distressed that Vincento isn't his father, but the girl advises him to believe in himself. Returning to their room, they find that Vincento, whistling, sees the laboratory, reads its address on documents, and hears the name Kaminsky. Later, the boy goes to the bank, handing a check to the teller and asking to cash it. The woman gives him €5. However, as soon as he steps out, she discovers a paper in his hand with the word sorry. Security tries to catch them, but they hide in the room. Esther jubilates at their luck, though N isn't sure if they did the right thing. The girl goes to the shower, and N hears a motor sound, creating an illusion. The entering receiver knows the projection is powerless against mirrors and immediately finds the boy. They fight, and Vincento intervenes, calming N down. He announces they're going to Warsaw and refuses to run and hide. Meanwhile, the agency tracks ticket purchases to Warsaw, and the couple finds the abandoned laboratory building. N and Esther sneak inside and soon discover the room from his dreams. Investigating the wall, he finds a secret storage with documents about experiments and his mother's diary, revealing her name to be Ursula Kaminsky. A receiver appears in the room, asking for a chance to talk. N tries to deceive him with projections, but the receiver easily sees through them, eventually aiming at the boy. He could have killed him long ago, but he doesn't need to because N is his son. And Ursula and a few others were created during the Cold War using a special Kaminsky formula, which developed their extrasensory abilities. However, when the war ended, authorities started capturing and destroying dangerous mutants, leaving them no hope until the last receiver, who could completely control a person, emerged. Although the receivers were infertile, he and his wife had a child, which was a miracle. Their conversation is interrupted by appearing agents. The receiver orders them to leave through the roof while he holds off the attackers. He confronts the military, opening fire with 2 pistols immediately. The pair runs to the stairs, fending off the attackers. The receiver creates an illusion of dangerous spiders. From them, they manage to put the helmet back on him again. Esther eventually leads the boy to the roof, from which she gracefully jumps down while he descends using a construction chute, and the pair hides. Meanwhile, the receiver is brought to Adrian, who orders the process of obtaining the formula from his blood, causing agony for the man. However, it turns out the formula is so scattered in his body that synthesizing it is simply impossible at the moment. Meanwhile, the receiver is held by a device, which also holds a gun to his forehead, to prevent any chance of escape. Suddenly, the operator's hand turns the weapon against the guards, shooting them, and then releases the captive. At the same time, N and Esther arrive at the receiver's house in Madrid, where Ursula had been living all those years. N is shocked by the woman's appearance. When the entering receiver advises him to enter her mind, as that's the only way to communicate with her now, N finds himself in the same white room from his childhood, where a child plays with strange cubes. It turns out his mother encoded the formula in this way. Now, the receiver asks to give it to him to create others like himself and end the agency. However, N refuses to do so, believing there's a reason why she hid it. The receiver starts breaking into Ursula's mind. She convulses and suddenly regains consciousness, recognizing him. At this time, the house is attacked by agency militants. N, enraged, activates his third ability, commanding the soldiers to kill each other. Adrian also points a gun at her temple, begging to stop, revealing the situation to be completely the opposite. But the boy is resolute, and then Vincenzo comes out, asking not to kill people, saying it's the one who raises and protects that defines them. Vincenzo dies while N takes a gun and runs after the receiver, entering a hall where a party is underway. He uses his abilities to knock everyone down and clear a path, but at the receiver's command, people stand up. Adrian arrives and shoots the receiver, distracting him and releasing N from his view, but Esther remains in his hands. He demands the formula to release the girl. However, Adrian declares that there's no girl, she's just a projection, giving N the freedom to shoot. Esther cries that it's wrong, but in the end, he shoots and kills the receiver, yet the girl doesn't disappear. Later, N meets Adrian at the cemetery. She asks for the formula, but he wants to stay neutral and gets into the car where Esther awaits him. He finally opens his father's gift, which turns out to be a book with a reminder that the best awaits those who don't lose hope. It seems they've made some hybrid of shooters, mysticism, and romantic soap operas in one bottle. Well, nothing particularly new, but generally it looks pretty good. What's your opinion about it? I want to know from the comments. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. This was MOREFOX. See you very soon.